Welcome to the second podcast of Let Me Speak to Your Manager. This is a podcast that celebrates the front line of customer service. Here we will tell harrowing stories and hysterical nonsense from our experiences on the customer-facing front line. You might laugh, you might cry, or you might just think twice about how you treat that retail store associate who's just trying to do their job and has nothing to do with the reasons why you hate your life. I'm your host, Ryan Cole, and today we have a very special story from my buddy Terrance. This is a story about new beginnings, breaking the shackles of retail, and standing your ground when things go sideways. Let's begin. This is the Leather-Eating Cookie Monster.
The life of a young adult with no responsibilities. I had a job with T-Mobile in 2004 and was going nowhere and decided it was simply time for a change. I had a terrible manager, and one day after throwing me under the bus, I decided to simply resign on the spot. No notice, no arguing, no drama. I simply said, you know what? I'm not a good fit here, and we do not work well together. Thanks for all you done, and best of luck. Literally grabbed my shit and just walked out. As I was leaving, the assistant manager that I felt was terrible told me, "You cannot just quit. You need to be professional and give your notice." And I simply replied, "You do not deserve my time nor notice. Again, thank you and best of luck." And you know what? That was it. Out. Just my lunch materials and some of my personal belongings. And you know what? I didn't even think about rent, going out to eat, buying some things at the mall. Just a breath of fresh air with a peace sign as I drove off in my Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo, first generation, that was hot at that point. But anyhow, last thing dude heard from me was definitely my blow-off valve. And as I get home, I told my roommate what I did. We'll call him Scooter. I actually call him Scooter, so that's real, but not real, if you get my drift. Anyways, he laughed and told me if I wanted something to do, there was a temp job available where he worked. It seemed interesting, and he always has some funny stories. I worked 9 to 5 and never worked weekends. I never have known that type of lifestyle, as I've always worked a shitty retail schedule. So maybe this would be a great change, a nice opportunity. So I applied, followed the steps of gaining employment, and set off for my first week a week later to start my new gig. So imagine, I first pull up, and having carpooled with Scooter, I thought to myself, wow, this is a big building and we actually have parking that we don't have to fight customers over. We exited outside of Cockeyed Corolla because, you know, your college car always had a little something off. This one just happened to have a headlight that was a bit off and preferred to light up trees versus the actual road. But I digress. With Cokes in hand from QT, we entered the building and I got set up. New badge, new office, new desk, new computer. And with that came new people, like actual adults that have surpassed 3.0 liters of age. Okay, this should definitely be interesting. It wasn't long before I noticed some things were just a bit off and a bit different from my prior experiences. First, it was just Scooter, myself, and this dude Jonathan. And literally, the only dudes were in the office were us three. And seeing that Scooter was basically one of the girls, that really only left Jonathan and myself. My boss, who we shall call TT, which stands for too tight because she wore tight-ass clothes and loved Cold Stone ice cream, was a bit hilarious and yet a savage in her career. Weeks go by. I start taking calls and learning the ropes, and my main task at the time was dealing with claims that I would filter to go to an actual claims department to decide if we were going to pay out or not. That's because I worked for a chemical company which produces products that certainly worked well, and I mean well, past expectations. The phone rings. I look at it and gather my bearings and answer the way a typical company answers the phone to greet their customers. "Hello?" she shouts. "Hello. Not sure if you caught my name, but I am Terrance and I'm..." And of course, just a brass interruption. "Yeah, great. Okay, don't care who you are, and I just need you to address your harsh product. It's toxic. I cannot believe you sell this acid." And of course, inside, I can't help but to chuckle. So, I try to keep it cool. I just want to respond to her, like, just real low key, right? Because I want to bring her down like 20 notches. And so I say to her, "Okay, ma'am, not sure what you mean, but I'm here to help you. And may I ask, like, what is the matter?" And of course, that was already asking for it. And so she replies, "You want to know what the matter is? The matter? No, your product is abrasive. And I went to Home Depot to pick it up after a stellar recommendation, which, just you wait till I talk to my girlfriend, but that's beside the point. I picked this son of a carpet muncher up where the staff placed it in my back seat, and oh my God, it literally upchucked itself on the floorboard like a fat kid eats cake, and it ate my fucking floorboard." Yeah, she was straight up giving it to me, y'all, like ripping me a new asshole verbally. And I was starting to respond, right? Because again, I wanted to bring it down, like this time 50 notches. And that's when she gasped, Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's, oh my God. It's eating my leather seats. And she literally freaked the fuck out. And she called me every single name under the sun. She was going to sue me. I put her life in danger. Somehow this is going to mess with her reproductive system. I mean, she went on and on about how harsh these chemicals were, and that like it was basically from some sort of nuclear reactor, and she just blew up. And so, to the best of my ability, I took everything down. And at this time, understand, there were no words I could give this lady. Like, she was not having it. She just expected me to pretty much figure out a way to buy her a brand new BMW at the time. And so, after finishing this call, I just had to laugh. I mean, the way she screamed about it eating her leather seats had me imagining like a leather eating cookie monster, like just going to town in her Beamer, right? Just like tearing it up. And as she so eloquently put it. And so I concluded my report, and then I sent it to Phyllis. And so Phyllis, she's the one I couldn't wait for this lady to speak with. She literally, and I mean Phyllis, was like the anti-customer, right? Like the anti-consumer. Like, never sling shit her way because she'll call you out on it. And she had this really raspy voice, and she was very authoritative. So she was super interesting. And so, sure enough, I decided like I'm going to go ahead and reach out to her because, that's just going to be the next thing to do. And so shortly afterwards, I get an email that I sent to her, and I get a quick little response that I need to call her. And so she always answered the phone from internal calls the same, and it always went something like this. "Hello, this is Phyllis." And so Phyllis always sounded like she just finished like a 6-pack of cigarettes on a 15-minute break, right? So she was definitely a heavy smoker, a bit older. She was certainly likable, but she gave no fucks. And so when she read and saw the email and the entire situation, her response to me was, "Oh, Terrance, young buck asshole, let me show you how it's done. I know it's going to be hell. I'm going to hell in a handbasket, but I can live with this shit." And so she made me sit down, as she reached out to this lady. She put her on speakerphone, and then she proceeded to walk through everything that just happened. So what was interesting was when this lady spoke to Phyllis, it was like a completely different tone, even though like the lady was definitely upset, but Phyllis gave her like, if the lady was speaking and trying to go off, like Phyllis continued to talk through about the action plan and moving forward. Like Phyllis does not let anyone breathe, let alone herself. And so the two talked for what seemed like forever, and Phyllis even got the lady to laugh. And needless to say, the claim was approved, but more importantly, I learned a great lesson from Phyllis and how to like hold your ground and get people to negotiate on your terms. Doubt that mean old hag is still around, but man, what I would give to just hear how those two are doing. So that is my experience at a chemical company, and I'll just say in Atlanta, Georgia.
And that was The Leather-Eating Cookie Monster, spoken by Terrance Blunt, story by Terrance Blunt. And now, over to Terrance Blunt to talk about what actually happened during that time.
Oh man, like Chris Ryan, like legitimately, these are things you just never forget in your lifetime, right? Like you think, okay, I had like these little side jobs, right? Like you're trying to make it, right? You just want to pay your rent, right? You want to date some girls along the way, right? You're just trying to have a good time in life. And between just random, I shouldn't say randomly, that's not necessarily fair, but it seems random, just quitting the job, moving to do this work with, I forget how I referenced it, but like, you know, a chemical company in Atlanta, as I'll put it. And it's just certain characters, like I'll never forget, you know, Phyllis, this is how she sounded, Ryan, what do you want?
That is a good impression. I really got a chuckle out of that impression. I've known a few people in my time that sounded like that. My entire family smoked, so half of my family sounds like that. It's really raspy.
Yeah, you know, she had really
reminded me of my
voice.
grandma, so I started having PTSD. If you would have added some walking farts in there, it'd have been my grandma for sure.
Oh, well, Phyllis didn't drop any of that on us, thankfully. But I'll never forget the scenery of, I'm exaggerating here for a minute, but I mean, I just can't believe how many, like, just cigarettes she would smoke in one break. I'm like, how do you puff these down? I mean, she'd line these things up like a Corvette, you know, where you just have like the 4 exhausts, but you got just 4 cigarettes. I mean, she would burn through easily, if I'm being honest, like 2 or 3 of them in a 15-minute break. I'm like, what do you, like, you were sucking these things down. But anyway.
That's
crazy. Chris, you got a chuckle out of the walking farts.
Yeah, I did. Like, because I can visualize it. That's why I laughed. But no, like Terrance, like the part that I really liked right out of the gate was whenever you talked about, like, you're like, I just decided to quit. And I was interested in that. Like, so what was going on there that you were just like, because I honestly have never just up and left a job, and I've had some pretty horrendous jobs in my time, but I've never just been like, done, I'm out, this is over with. So what happened? Like, what led up to the point where you were just like, I can't do this anymore, this isn't working out?
Yeah, okay, fair. So let's back up for a second. So like, oh man, I was with like, it was PowerTel before it got bought by VoiceStream, and then quickly right afterwards it went to T-Mobile, and had a really good, awesome manager. I'll give his name. His name's Chad. Chad was really good, but the assistant manager,
always a Chad.
Just always with the Chad, right? And the assistant manager, though, he's a bit more of an asshole, and then he would always do this good cop, bad cop situation, and it would be at the expense of the employees, right? So if a customer had a problem, he would totally just throw you under the bus, and then try to have you see what I'm saying? Like, make your image has to take the hit.
Yep.
And you know, after this happened a few times, especially considering that I was trying to get, like, you know, an assistant manager position myself, or at least some sort of lead. And when I tried to transfer to a couple store locations, I'm like, no, like, you want to spend some time here. Like, this is a really good store. And it was to be at, where you can hit the numbers, your quota. And then at the time, if you guys remember this, like, T-Zones was hot, right? Like, I outsold everybody in my area when it came to adding these data packages. because I really liked it. But anyway, needless to say, I couldn't seem to get a promotion. I couldn't seem to get moved to any other store. And I was willing to go different places. And then it really dawned on me that I'm just locked in, right? Like, what incentive do they have to move you to a great role if you help make them look good? And there's really no incentive there. And it just so happened that my friend Scooter, who this like his real nickname, but obviously not his real name. But so Scooter's is like, he's casually talking about where he may have this like temp job or whatnot opening, and then if I was looking just for some sort of change, I want to get out, that was an option. And so like I kind of knew in the back of my mind that this could be a thing, even though we never necessarily fully talked about it. And anyways, the guy just struck a nerve, and I was like, you know what? Why am I here? I don't have to be here. I don't own a house. I don't have a car payment, right? I don't have a family. So I just decided right then and there that I was just going to quit. I was just going to leave.
Man, not having a car payment is one of the greatest things ever. I wish I didn't have two of those.
Oh man, I've had one so long now I've forgotten what it felt like. But by the way, like another little true part to the story, I still have that same Eclipse to this day. It's locked up in the garage. I never really drive it anymore. And I drove this 1995 Nissan Pathfinder all the way up until I got my Evo. So this is 2015 January. So I had the same cars from high school all throughout that time. And just a little tidbit here with our work. So just bear with me as the story just deviates just for a little bit. So I would go pick up dispatchers at my current role, right? When I used to work as a field sales manager and with the current company I'm at. And needless to say, one time my RM, he was like, hey, Terrance, hey, so we do pay you enough to get like another car if you wanted, right? And I'm like, yeah, like, hey, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on here? He's like, hey, so I'm going to need you to seriously just go ahead and rent. Like when these executives come through, please just go rent a car. Like your car's sold, right? And so I didn't take any offense to it whatsoever. And I took like many different executives throughout the day, and only one really appreciated this dude at Nokia. His name was Philippe. And anyways, he happened to just like older cars. But point is, I didn't really decide to get anything new and know what a car payment was until my early to mid 30s. This is crazy. But anyway.
Man. I didn't make it that long before I got a car payment.
Look, I can appreciate you, Terrance, on that, because I have two 2008 Kia Optimas that have been paid off for the better part of 7 years now at this point, that I'm still driving around. That's our family cars that we use, so I get it, man. Like, I'm like, if they die, I'll change them out. Like, that's where I'm at with it.
Absolutely. Look, I don't care if hamsters power these cylinders, right? As long as these things move forward. If I have to get my kids to put feet up a back seat to make the thing look like it's real-wheel drive human feet, so be it. As long as the key's running and I got 4 tires and the steering wheel, we're good.
Was the hamsters meant to be a reference to the old Kia commercial?
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe there's a little spiky. Chris implemented by saying that. It's actually a very good tie-in.
So you're kind of piggybacking off of what Chris said. So what was really so bad about this manager? Like, what was the true instance?
He was just a jerk, right? He was just a jerk. And I think when there's if you have a personality type, you really care, right? Like so some things I didn't care about is I didn't ever care about any corporate policy or timeline. Like I'm going to do what's right for the consumer, and that's what brings me joy, right? And
that's what gets you paid too. Like
even to this day, it's you can consider it a strength or a weakness, right? Like all else be damned, I feel like I have to do what's right for the customer, and needless to say, when you have somebody that's willing to throw you under the bus, especially if somebody's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then, there's something about that says, okay, wait a minute. Like, I don't want to be turned into that type of, I hate to use the word like a corporate villain, right? But, some people are just they chase the game. They want to get ahead. They want to get all the numbers. They don't care who they call. As a matter of fact, it's like they're climbing that corporate ladder, and the people, the bodies, their employees, physically, they are the ladder. And it's just a part of me just couldn't take it. And then I remember like there was a few other people that were going through the same thing. So it wasn't unique to me. Yeah. Right. This happened to, a few different other coworkers. At some point I was like, enough's enough. And what better message could I send to say, you know what, like, this is it. Like this is where we're at. You've driven me here, and I do have options. I do have choices. So for me to sit here and continue to subject myself to it is just that. Like I'm choosing to do so. Now, mind you, I get it. Like some people are in tough family situations, right? I happen to be a little bit younger, and I didn't have a lot of responsibility, so I had a little bit of freedom to do that. And I think that really sends the message home that, from a leadership standpoint, like they've taken something too far, right? Like when an employee is doing very well, that shows some initiative that they do want to find some sort of promotion and path forward, and to be able to say, what, I'm willing to give it all away for my own dignity. And that's exactly what it drove me there.
So, but the
Kick rocks.
The good thing with this though is that it drove you into this new job with this chemical company. So you tell the story that Scooter got you into this chemical company, and he was like, hey, just like come work with me and we'll see how it goes. And you mentioned in there, and I really like this part because I remember this feeling whenever I went to work for a Social Security disability firm, that Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job finally, and you're like, ooh, I get to work in an office and everything. I don't have to do any crazy hours. Like finally I've made it. I'm working normal weekday hours. And
oh my gosh.
With that, talk about like how Scooter pulled you in and what that whole moment felt like whenever you first like, all right, I got this job, I know I have it, and that first day that you walked in.
And so like right before you do that, TB.
Yep.
Did Scooter in fact own a scooter?
You know what, Scooter, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Scooter's not very coordinated. No, like they have a driver's license as far as it goes. No, like Scooter. So when we would play any sort of sports together, if Scooter wants to hit something to the left of him, he best try to aim to the right because something always went in the wrong direction, right? So if we were playing dodgeball like before, for example, and he could never hit a target. Like you're just best to stay still because the chances are he's not going to hit you. So no, he did not own a scooter because that would probably be detrimental to his health. So he's chosen wisely. Absolutely not. And so back to your question, Chris, it's such a real experience, right? Because like I remember like thinking to myself, first when he casually mentioned it, I didn't think anything too much of it. I didn't get serious until like I just quit my job. So like I needed to find something. And so I didn't have any real details at all, right? Which would seem ill-advised these days. But needless to say, it was definitely like 3PL contractor work. So I had to go through and, do like a fun little drug screening, a couple quick little interviews. You know how it is. They're trying to really get a body in the seat, in all honesty. And so I did so, and they're like, okay. And I mean, this all turned around really fast. Like it was like, oh, okay, like you're serious. You want to do this? Great. Like you need to fill this out. So I went, filled it out. And not everything was online during those times. That just shows you how far things have come.
I miss the days when you went face-to-face interview with somebody.
Yeah. Well, Scooter thankfully like printed up the paperwork and then just brought it home and I filled it out, gave it to him. Obviously trusted with my social and everything else. And so kind of fast forward to the first Monday. So like Scooter will always show up really doing like the same thing, right? Like he would always have like, he'd love to get his Coke in the morning. So instead of coffee, he was a Coke guy, right? Which I like coffee, but I have to be honest, if I had a choice between a Coke or I'd probably take a Coke.
Well, of course, Coke's delicious, like, and coffee takes some goosing up before which point it's good. So like, I get it.
Absolutely. And like QT had like these big drinks you can get under $1. And so it was kind of thing. And since we were carpool, I would fill up on certain days, right? So like it worked out really well. And so anyways, we'd always go get those QT cups. I remember pulling the parking lot.
I would like to,
like, man, there's so much space.
Pause right there. Quick Trip, if you're listening, we would gladly take you as a sponsor on this show, just so it's said. I
didn't realize they had QTs over there. TB, because I come from Tulsa, where the birthplace of Quick Trip. So
we don't want 7-Eleven, we don't want Racetrack or any of that bullshit. Quick Trip,
dude.
That's who we
QTs, caramel fraps, like are just as good as Starbucks for like a quarter of the price.
Oh,
yeah, they're so good.
All right, so back to the story with you, Terrance.
Okay.
So yeah, because we'll go off on a tangent on QT.
Hey, we'll take
but
it.
Seriously,
by the way,
sponsorship.
it's so interesting because, just real quick on that one. You're right. Tulsa, Oklahoma is where they're at, but they have a main office in Lawrenceville that was near where I lived. So that's interesting you say that. But anyway, okay. So we pull into this parking lot. I remember I looked around. I was like, damn, Scooter, like there is just so much space here for cars, right? And so I'm used to having like a tiny little parking lot. Because think about like a cellular retail store, all customers get like, parking right there in the front. And then we got to park in the rear, and things are like super tight. People take the big ass trucks there. Sometimes like, and you had to share with the neighboring. So we had like a perimeter I group was right there. And then there's like another one. So like we're all trying to share this tiny space. And so like I was excited the fact that if I'm going to bring my own car, like I have plenty of place to park. And like we are like the parking lot's for us. It's not for any customers. So anyway, we go in there, and I remember like, okay, going up to the elevator, meeting my new boss, which I forget her real name. I just know we kept calling her TT. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Her
name is more infamous than the person.
and she was like, she was really nice, having high energy, and I just remember seeing everything new, right? And like that first intimidation when you get on a job, because like while you're super excited, and we're all excited when we start a new role, it's also very intimidating, right? Because you're like, okay, like this is it. Like I'm in it. We're gonna figure it out. And I hate to use like a sink or swim, but you're already wanting to get your feet wet and perform a bit. And so they were definitely very welcoming or whatnot. But it was so funny how quickly they literally put me on the phone, right? Like, okay, so you're gonna take these quick little trainings. I did like these quick little, online HR trainings, and literally that was like half the day. And that very same day of my first day, I'm on the phone. Right, like
honestly, I think that's one of the best ways to train somebody or get somebody ready for a job is just kind of throw them to the wolves. As long as you're there to tell them, hey, it's okay to make a mistake when they make a mistake and not jump down their throat. I remember being, because I worked in wireless like you did, Terrance, so I slang a few cell phones in my day. I remember one time we had a bunch of new hires in our store because going through the process of just we were the highest volume store in the state, and therefore like all of our people would get poached by other stores often, so we were always having to replenish people and train new people. And I was one of the leads there, and we were just super packed, super busy, so we had to throw one of the newbies on the floor, and I was in the back dealing with back office stuff. And he came to the back and was just freaking out because he had a customer that was, angry because he didn't know how to do something in the system because the system was really wonky, and you had to know all these workarounds for it because it was a system that they've had forever that they just never upgrade, because it costs too much money.
Yeah, since Windows DOS, yeah.
Yeah. And so I go out on the floor, and, this customer's, just kind of, laying in me. He's like, are you a manager? I'm like, well, I'm one of the leads, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, why can't, your employee do this and that? And I'm like, well, he's new, the system's, tricky. You have to know a few tricks to get it to do some things sometimes. And he's like, well, why you got him on the floor if he's new? I'm like, well, honestly, just to be straight up with you, that's the best training sometimes. It's just kind of, throw him out there to the wolves. And he just stopped, and he's like, okay, that makes sense. And that was it. Like he calmed down at that point, and I got his issue fixed and got him out the door. And the newbie looked at me, he's like, how did that work? And I'm like, sometimes people just respond well to honesty.
Look, I think it's all well as long as it's not a serious job like a 911 dispatcher, right? Suicide hotline, right? Like I know this is dark real quick, but nonetheless,
time and place.
Yeah, time and place for sure. But to your credit, though, like I agree. I think it was certainly the best way to do it, and they really had a good sense of humor as well. Like I could tell they wanted you to perform, but they weren't very like just crazy strict, right? Like some people have like exceptionally high expectations, and not to say that theirs were any lower per se, but they're like, hey, like we understand you're going to be new. You're going to run into a few problems. So the few things that you learned during that lovely HR webinar that you took, that training, now you know where the hold button is and how to appropriately put them on hold, so you can just come around the corner and ask me, and I can walk you through it.
Oh, the best thing is when they don't hit that hold button and they cuss the customer out, and the customer's like, "What'd you say?" Those are always the best moments.
That could be a problem. That could absolutely be a problem. That is for sure. And most people that called in, I could tell, like, what they really wanted, this reminds me of somebody, Chris, you'll kind of probably pick up on this one. I'm sorry you all for the inside joke, but I think this person was really just, a lot of these people would, bitch and moan because they're trying to get something free, right? Like that is really what they wanted. They wanted some sort of discount, get them some sort of free product. And I sent quite a few things because I was at liberty, like to just say, okay, cool. Like, whatever, I could send this in a few times, no problem. So I would send them like 2 or 3 bottles of this particular thing they wanted, right? Or a buy one, get one, just depending. Like we had a huge arsenal, and I literally can just do as I please if I can just keep them happy.
Because that chemical cost them like $1 to make, and they're like, send as much as you want, whatever. We already got $12 from them.
Yeah, I'm sure they have like a huge batch, like an evil villain off of some sort of Bond plot, right? Because I mean, look, these chemicals were so abrasive. I mean, the things that they would destroy, and it was very explicit. This is the thing too, like on the back of the bottles, it was very explicit of what you would use it on and what you would not use it on. But there were some caveats because I remember a common problem was that the nozzles, like if it's set on the shelf for any, and it didn't have to be a long period of time, by the way, if it's set on the shelf for any small amount of time or they used it, but then it's set for weeks afterwards, it would literally destroy parts of the nozzle.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was that strong. So it was very often, and this is, now you got me thinking about this, people call it all the time, like, yeah, hey, like, what's going on? Like, the bottle's not working. Like, I've used it. I'm like, okay, well, how long? Oh, well, I haven't used it in like 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, something may just be wrong with the nozzle, which we knew, like, internally, yeah, this stuff is just really strong. So we had several on tap. And a part of my job was to send them out. Like, we had this, it would print up a label. We already had, like, these pre-envelopes, because envelopes weigh less, no boxes. Anyways, we just put a few extra nozzles in there, ship it out, no problem. Somebody just come pick it up in a day. That's part of the role. That happened very often. If that gives you any idea.
Interesting.
And how, it's like, I'm sure this is the same thing, depending on which version of the comic you read, that, the Joker probably fell in and fucked up his face. I hope I can drop that bomb. If not,
the Joker or Two-Face? Which one?
Both of them technically fell into a vat of chemicals, right? So
one spray is all it would take. Oh, look, this stuff, it worked well, that is for sure. But would I carry this thing in my car? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you told me, hey, Terrance, do you mind? Nope. I've heard enough horror stories where I would not want to ever personally transport this from my car. It's not gonna happen. But anyway,
what were they using it in their car for? Like, what was the intention?
In their car, the problem is they would ship, like they would take it, so they go to Home Depot, right, purchase it to go take it home or to go take it to their business. And the problem is, just like I mentioned with the faulty nozzles, if it's set on the shelf and it was not a long period of time, I forget off the top of my head, but I mean, it was definitely like way under the average norm. And if this thing tipped by any stretch of the imagination, like off to the side or whatever, like it's game over. Like there's a good chance this thing would leak. And it leaked often. And I mean, it would, if it got on, let's say, a plastic bag, yes, it's going to go through that bag. It's not going to take long at all. Like if you spilled it right there on the spot and then quickly scooped it up, it's not that quick. It's not instantaneous like that. But several minutes of it sitting on the bag, it's definitely going to do it in. That's for sure.
I have kind of an analogy for this to a point, or a similar instance that happened with me when my girlfriend, now wife, but we were dating at the time. She had to go get a new battery for her car, or I had to go get a new battery for my car. That's even worse now that I say that. I put the battery in the back seat. Growing up, not with my dad not being real mechanically minded, I sat the battery sideways in the car instead of flat, and it leaked battery acid in the back seat and ate through her carpet in her car. So, Terrance, would it eat through carpet if it was left on there long enough?
Oh yes, as one customer definitely ripped into me about. I will never forget this lady's, like, I know she seemed extra, and I guess like I have to admit, like I'd be pretty pissed if that happened and to my leather seat to my Evo, right? Like I definitely would be really mad. But it was the way that she said it, because it's like, if I try to paint a picture, it's like, imagine if you ever seen that the movie White Chicks, right? Like, if you could imagine, like, one of, the Wayans brothers characters, right? But also, like, they talk twice as fast. She talked twice as fast. And on top of that, like, she was definitely, like, hammering into me. But, she would just sit there and she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And I'm sitting on the other line, like, what is, like, is this pertaining to me? Like, and then when she started screaming, I was eating the leather seats. This is the best part too. I don't think I shared it in the story, but when that was happening, it kept going on. I did wave, because we would wave at a couple of our colleagues every now and then. We wanted them to listen in on the call because we thought somebody was a bit hilarious to us. And so, like, Scooter got to listen in, and this lady Doretha got to listen in. And they thought it was quite comical. I couldn't get behind the comical just yet of it. Like, it was funny the way she said it, but at the same time, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what do I do in a situation? Like, no one's ever told me that it ate through their BMW's leather seats, right? Like, that just sounds like a huge bill, right? Like, that's nicer than any car that I had at the time, that's for sure, right? Now you're telling me this chemicals leaked all on it. The way that, you didn't put it in your car, right? Home Depot people put it in, to her car. And so, like, how does that work, right? Like, I'm like, okay, is this going to, like, go back to Home Depot? Insurance claims, it's going to be really interesting. And so part of my role wasn't to necessarily deal with the insurance, but I would take all the claiming information, right? Like, so I'd write a very clear description. And when they got it, they had the receipt information. I'd take any of that. And we had, like, this huge list, and you didn't have to necessarily fill out everything, but the more you fill out, the better. And that's when it would go to my colleague, Phyllis, right? And she would single-handedly, she was the only one that would deal with these particular claims. But yeah, I mean, it seriously was that potent. Like, it was specifically bathroom chemicals, just to get a little bit more into it. So it is meant to do things like if you have, like, clogged sink or a clogged toilet, right? Like, it would.
So is this like industrial grade?
Yes. So, and again, you can still use it, like, for a household situation, but this is definitely industrial grade. Like, that's definitely what it's marketed and it was aimed for. And this particular company had, like, 2 different versions, and they were very similar. One of them, like the household one, was really good. So I feel like I want to share it, but I don't know if I should. But.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, then we'll just stick with that. But, the one that was household, it was actually really good. And it's not so popular, but for people who know it, like, it really worked well. And I guess, like, some of the hints I can give. So it's a household cleaning chemical, and it's more of a soap clean than, like, a chemical, if that would make any sense. And so, like, I could use this particular product to clean parts of my bathroom, clean my tub, but also if I had a stain on my clothes, I could spray my clothes. And it worked phenomenally well. So we had, like, that one, like, really good line of products, and then this other one that was just like Satan hell, right? Like, it just straight brought up sulfur from the depths of it, and that was the chemical, right? Like, oh, produced straight from hell. Oh, so ridiculous.
Oh boy, that's funny. So,
yeah, and
how did Phyllis get her to calm down? Was it just she just controlled the entire conversation?
Yeah, let me tell you, Phyllis was gangster. Like, something I really liked about Phyllis was she always stood her ground, and she made sure you did not change the story or the narrative. And if you did, there was a couple things she would do. So, like, let me try to give you some examples, just like throughout. Like, there was that call, but I've heard her on a few before and after that. And so, like, if somebody changed the story, like, she would interrupt. Wait. You just told me earlier. Let me get your facts straight. Are you story timing me? And so, again, I don't know how, in all hindsight, like, was she maybe the best person? But at the same time, I could tell you this: she would probably save the company some money by getting people maybe to kind of relent. But what I really liked about her was when somebody would start deviate, she'd be like, back to the point. Tell me here what happened. No. Tell me what happened. Okay, great. Yeah, after that. No, ma'am, after that. There we go. That's what I need to know. And then you hear a little. She was just so good about just getting people to get directly to the point. But what I also liked about it, and I think the way that she made this lady laugh, was she would try to, you know how it is, like, in any role, you want to be careful to like, you want to be empathetic, but you also don't want to be confirming, right? Like you don't want to confirm like everything they're telling you is true and overpromise something you can't deliver on. And she was definitely a master at that, but she was also the master at that empathy side, right? So she would make some jokes sometimes about her voice, right? Like, why do you think I sound like this? I smoked 6 packs due to my stress, or whatever it may be. And so she was a little bit lighthearted during those times that she would make a little connection with here and there. But the problem is you could never do it long. Like it would be just enough, like there'd be just a chuckle, right, a little cough, laugh, and she's right back at it. And she'd get you off that phone. She would get you in, tell her the information that she needed, whatever, maybe get a little chuck out of you, and bye. She's out. So it's interesting talent. I think it's one of those where you kind of have to see it. It's hard for me to try to relive those Phyllis moments and explain it to you, but she just certainly had that talent to walk that fine line. I think I would have gotten fired. Let's be honest. I don't think I would have done very well in that department.
Speaking of talent, I mean that impression is pretty good. What other impressions you got?
I don't know if there's any more sharing in here. I think it depends on the particular situation or maybe the particular person. But oh yeah, like I don't know. When it's one of those. I still wish there was a way for us to take like our memories and things we heard and like project it. But maybe I don't wish for that because that is totally Minority Report, and like that I think would work against me than help.
So like, what's the thing that Elon Musk is working on? The Neuralink, yeah.
You know,
have you heard about that?
Look, if he has a couple more joints with, what is it, Joe Rogan, I think,
Well, he was just on Joe Rogan's podcast like a few days ago.
Oh my goodness, him and his COVID. Oh.
But that stuff that he's talking about with Neuralink, it's definitely interesting.
Well, it would be interesting. It would be interesting because I think like just when it comes to storytelling in general, especially, could you imagine if you had that type of technology and you had some trying ass
I could remember
really
math.
messing with you and it's like, oh wait, you did what? Hold on. Oh no, yeah, go ahead. Hook up your mind to this little Neuralink thing. Why don't you share it with the rest of us? This is how it really went down, right? And put people on blast. Oh, I almost so wished I could do that. But again, I'm just afraid that type of thing would bite me in the ass more than it would help me, right? Like,
yeah.
Sir, you pulled you over, and about no, your Neuralink says otherwise. Right?
You're like, damn it!
I saw the last look was you looking at your speedometer doing 130, so that's jail time, right? Like,
and then from then on, every time Terrance gets pulled over, he just sticks a magnet to his head.
Oh, which by the way,
to mess up the Neuralink so it can't be used.
Since we're on the story, I know you two know Joe, and so this is a few weeks ago. This is another true story. Just bear with me for a moment. I was rolling down the interstate, and there was this. You should have known, right? When you see a Charger, it just seems a little bit off. Like, just assume it's a police officer, right? Like, if you see a Dodge Charger out there and it doesn't quite look like, if you can't see in the windows, just assume, regardless of what color it is, because it wasn't black, it was silver. Just assume it's a police officer. And this Charger's doing like 90, and I casually just went by at 100 miles an hour. I remember I turned on my signals, moved some other lanes, came speeding up, and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And then he lit my ass up, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And I think it's just come to the point now where, you get pulled over so many times. It's like, you don't have the fear anymore. It's more of a, oh, hell now. Like, just let me pull over. Let me safely.
It's an inconvenience.
Yes, it does feel more of that, right? So it's not a fear, or it's not like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. You're just like, oh shit, like now I'm gonna court dates coming. What? And for me, by the way, like I can never just pay it. Like I feel like I have to go because I want to lower it and negotiate. Anyways, dude didn't even get out his car. He just pulled to the side of me. He's like, you know what? I couldn't just let you pass me doing 100, even though I know I was going a little bit quick myself. He wouldn't say. He's like, I couldn't just let you pass me. And of course, I did one of these hands up. I'm like, yeah, look, message received. So he let me go. It probably wasn't even his jurisdiction, to be honest. But anyway, that's just another reason why I don't need something like that little Neuralink or whatever. Because this shit, it will. Could you imagine? Like, I could see my wife using this thing on me. Right?
Oh god.
Like, oh, Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't tell you. Oh, I didn't tell you. Hold on. Let's hold on.
Let's consult the
Let's
Neuralink.
bring up the neural. Yeah, let's consult the Neuralink for a minute. Oh, freeze right there. 37 seconds in. That's exactly what I told you, right? Like I definitely don't need that. I think ambiguity is going to serve me best here in this particular case.
Well said,
Yeah,
Terrance.
I can definitely see that. I can see some benefits. Just for me, having like 5 concussions. There's some years in there that I don't remember anymore. Some memories that are gone that would be nice to recall. But I think there's probably, to your credit, more downsides than there is upsides.
Oh, absolutely. Like you got me thinking. Like, I wonder how many like bad customer service like stories I have suppressed, right? Like at T-Mobile over its time. Like there's quite a few. Like I think I told you the one about the guy with the bug spray. That I tell you this one, the high pitched scream.
No. You might have to save that for a later one.
It's more comical than anything else. It's not like it wasn't a confrontational situation, but it's just something that I clearly did not see coming. I did not see this one coming. But anyways,
those are always the best ones, the ones you never see coming.
Yeah, it's like, I would never thought this guy would be that guy, right? And his panic it was worth it. Like, if I could just watch that again one more time.
Oh, was this the one with your coworker?
Yes, with the
okay.
With the Lysol.
I do know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I didn't see this one coming. But anyway, I think that's almost how it all goes, right? Like when you think of certain just your customer service interactions, like from the time like I got fired from Kroger in my teens because I called this lady a biatch, but I didn't say it just like that. I told her very kindly, but I did use and insert the word because she was beating on the counter with something.
How do you call someone a bitch kindly? Did you actually use the word, or did you dance?
Well, did
you say, "With all due respect, ma'am, you're a bitch"? Is that how you said it?
Well, that was fairly close. She called me a juvenile delinquent.
Well, that was probably an accurate statement.
I was
Terrance.
And I was walking in Kroger because I always love. I showed up early and I really loved their chocolate glazed donuts. Those things were so good. Like either they made them right that day or they were too dry, one of the two. So it's like loved it or hate it, but they're really good. So I would come in from school, go get one, chill in the break room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now you guys really got me thinking of so many different stories. I got another better one, but that'll be for another time. I do have another really good one. But so anyway, she was back by the seafood and she had some tartar sauce and was banging on the metal cabinet to try to get someone's attention because no one has served
with the tartar sauce.
Yes, with the tartar sauce. Like
not a judge's gavel.
I know it's like I'm not gonna hit the counter here with my S20, but like she literally was just banging the counter. Hello, and I'm just like, oh my God. And so like it was on the way because if like in major grocery chain, like the break room, something that leads to the back, like it looks like it goes to like the warehouse side where like groceries are stored, and then like the break room's kind of off, and so you had to go past the seafood department. And so I'm walking by, I'm like, ma'am, is everything okay? And she just looked at me and she's like, what do you mean is everything okay? She's like, do you work here? And I was like, well, yeah, I do. Like, I'm just going to walk in. She's like, okay, well then hurry up and clock in and take care of your customers. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you this. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, ma'am, look, I'm just trying to help you out, right? Like, I just got here. I don't even necessarily work in the seafood department. And then she cut me out. She's like, well, then why are you wasting my time? Find me somebody here to get me what I need. And I was just like, oh, wow. And so I kind of rolled my eyes and whatnot. Well, you heard me, you little juvenile delinquent. And she's like, where's your manager? And I was like, well, you know what? I guess I'm a juvenile delinquent. I'm trying to sit here and help you out, but I guess I'll go get if you want to be a little bitch about it. And needless to say, manager,
nice.
She called me and she's like, Terrance, did you call her a bitch? And I was like, well, I didn't call her a bitch per se, but
maybe a little.
I used the word. I explained to her. She's like, Terrance, you can't do that. You can't do that. She's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to fire you. I really like you. I'm probably gonna have to fire you. And sure enough, yeah, they ended up firing me. So I had to go home, and my mom's like, "You're home early," and I'm like, I got fired. She's like, "You got fired." She looks confused. She's like, "What do you mean you got fired?" She's like, "Did you quit or get fired?" I'm like, "No, like I got the cat again. No, I legitimately got fired." And I told her. She's like, "Oh, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. You need to control your emotion a little bit better, but I get it. People can be bitches. Like this, my mom's words. I love my mom." And so anyways, that was the end of that. I thought I was going to get in trouble. Like I was actually a little bit concerned to tell her that I just got fired from K. Roger. Pretty embarrassing. But it was a good job. My 14, you could work here in Georgia, 14, because, hey, in Georgia, I mean, we're now giving out driver's licenses without actual any tests, if you haven't heard. So,
What?
If you know anybody with driver's licenses coming to Georgia, we're just giving them away. Yeah, apparently,
like guns in Texas.
Yeah, due to the whole COVID situation, right? Like, all teens have to do is, do the online part, green means go, red means stop.
They can just Google search that stuff.
Oh my, right. And then it is up to your parents who pay your car insurance and for your vehicle anyway to approve you submitting for your license. And yeah, we gave a whole bunch of teens their licenses this past week.
Jeez.
Yeah. So who's going to, in Georgia, you got many things you can die from. One of them I won't mention because that is too racy and too much going on right now. So I'm going to stay away from that one. But apparently, if it's not that, it's COVID, or on top of that, teens run you over. So take your pick. What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm surprised that I'm surprised at the people that do get driver's license even with a test. So I feel like in Oklahoma and Texas, it's like, do you have a heartbeat? Okay, well, here's your license.
Well, look, I cheated on mine. I didn't know if you guys knew this, but I cheated on my driver's test. I did good with the testing portion, but on the road, I had to do a parallel parking, which is a 1995 Nissan Pathfinder I had. And I remember backing up to the cone, and for me, you couldn't hit it. If you touched the cone, that was a failure. And my main practice was my mom driving coffee in a Mazda at the time, and I would shift gears for her and literally driving to the place. Like, that is as much practice as I got in. Like, that's probably not good. So I probably shouldn't have got my license, to be honest with you, but I knew I was getting too close to the cone and I was in danger. When I can see my mom anxiously, in the distance, she would be like this, and she's here, and then her hands come here, and then her hands on her head, right? And I was like, okay, I must be too close. She knows about it. I was like, never mind there. And so I knew to pull forward, and I made it. And she's like, oh my goodness, you won't believe how close you came to that cone. I was like, yeah, I was looking at you in a rearview mirror, and I could see on your face I was getting too close. So little does she know, she helped me get my license. And the worst part was, I remember I got it, and she's like, aren't you excited? And I was like, yeah. She's like, don't you want to drive home? And I was like, no, not really. Right? And this is the sad part. I didn't get literally before I left the house, I am one of those weird millennials. And I know, as it is said, the Papa Smurf, right? Grandpa of millennials. It's true, born in 82. I didn't want to get my license. I really did not care to get my license. For a lot of people, it's freedom, and I get it. I never cared for it. I would walk to work, when I was 16 and moved, I would just walk to Eckerd Drugs at the time where I worked, and it was just close enough where it was just easier to walk. But yeah, I didn't want to get my license, and then I got it, and then I got a car, and then I really understood the true value. So it gets one of those late bloomers. But I mean, could you really say that kids these days actually give a damn about it? I feel like most of them get it because they're forced to get it. Otherwise, they just go on their phone and get a Lyft or Uber and be done.
But then where would the next generation of Lyft or Uber drivers come from, Terrance?
It's going to be driving itself, of course, Chris.
Oh, dang it. I forgot about
That's
that.
what they're hoping for. They're hoping their car is going to be driving.
Elon Musk is going to bring that about. I forgot.
Yeah, there we go. See, I like how it's come full circle back to Elon Musk. Absolutely. He's.
Hey, I am down for the self-driving cars. Those hour-long plus commutes to work, and I could be taking a nap during that. That'd be amazing.
I was like, how amazing it would be? Because think of how far cars have come, right? So, in the story, when we were talking about cockeyed Corolla, right?
Whose car was that, by the way? Was that yours or was that
Scooter's
Scooter?
car?
Okay.
This Toyota, not Tercel, it's Corolla. It's cockeyed Corolla, clearly. But it looked like he came from a Tercel before that, and the Corolla was his college car. And so, if you can imagine the headlights here, one of them just like went up into the fucking trees. I remember how much he used to laugh about it because he would turn it on at night and he's like, I can't see.
So his car had a lazy eye? Is that what you're saying?
That's a nice way to put it. Yes, it did have a lazy eye. Like it would just stare off into the bushes. And for my friends, he had that laugh. And so the first time this happened, he just laughs about it. Anytime we see it, he turns on his lights, it's just instant laughter because you just know it's messed up. He didn't care to fix it, right? And he called it CC for short, right? So cockeyed Corolla, CC for short. You know, what was that stupid ass saying he had? It's like, you know, he's like, yeah, this car may be pretty fucked up, but you know what? It'll bake you in the winter and it'll cool you in the summer, right? Because basically the heater worked and the AC worked, and he was a happy man because. I think one of the main reasons, and don't hold me 100% to this one, but I think the main reason he decided to get rid of that car is because the AC went out. And it just got too expensive, and the car had like 101 issues, and he decided to get rid of it. Anyway.
Hey, I'm with him there. I didn't have AC in a car until I was like 20, I think. I had the redneck AC. It was rolled down the window.
No. Chris, I know, like, you know, I kind of consider Tennessee the South, whatever. So some people may argue otherwise.
It's south of the Mason-Dixon, it's the South.
There it is. I'm with you 100% on that one. And look, it gets hot in the South. And so I've had, I made the mistake of on that Eclipse I had, that Turbo Eclipse, I got so power hungry with it, I did an AC delete. That was a mistake. That was an instant mistake. Like, no.
What exactly is an AC delete?
So what you do is when you get rid of your AC, because, you know, the AC system is a bit parasitic to your engine, right? So when you turn it on, like you're not going to find anyone, you should be doing this, but you're not going to find anyone at a drag strip or street racing with it on. You would typically turn it off, right? Yeah. Because it's drag on the motor. It's more belts, more pulleys going. Got it. And so when I did that delete, I deleted two things out of the car specifically for any of my gearheads. I got rid of the balanced, the Mitsubishi at the time had like a little balance shaft with the engine, so you didn't feel all the vibrations, and then you get rid of the AC. And so I decided to get rid of the AC, the compressor, free that up, and then get rid of my balance. There's a specific name for it, but anyways, it was great for performance, absolutely horrible for creature comforts. I would never ever recommend it, never ever. And
so what kind of boost did that give you?
Well, it's not much. It's never worth it. Like, if I can go back in hindsight, like, it's never worth it. It's just like, you know, if you were to go turn your car on now, rag out, turn your AC, like, it takes a little bit hit, like maybe like putting an extra body in your car, right? So it's going to take a little bit of a hit, but nothing worse worth it. Not in the South, absolutely not. Because there's quite a few times I got stuck in Atlanta traffic, just hating it every single moment. Oh, and here's the other messed up part. It eventually got so hot for so long, the humidity, that because the car is a 90s car, you know what always happens, it gets a little bra sag from the roof of the car. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Oh, it's the worst. And I haven't fixed it to this day.
I hate that when you can feel it on the top of your head, and you're like, God damn it!
Oh yeah,
you think there's a spider or something or a bug on your head, and you're like, and it's the damn thing. Your ceiling hanging down on you.
Still have it. That was just a stupid ass decision. But you know, Hey, and by the way, thank you T-Mobile. Before I quit that job, right, and went to the chemical company one. We used to get paid, and you guys know this because you were in the industry. We used to get paid bank to do upgrades. Like, I would say, like, late 90s, early 2000s was the best time to work in cellular. Like, you could make stupid money.
Oh yeah.
Like, I made more 1 year. This is gonna sound terrible. I made more 1 year working at T-Mobile than I even do now. Like, straight numbers, 1 year I made a lot of money off these upgrades.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It's crazy the amount of money that you can make if you're serious about it. You know,
a
lot of people come in and they just want to do the bare minimum.
Yeah, well, at that time, like B2B,
money
was pretty hot. They would pay you a bit. Like, people would literally walk in a store and just say, "I want to activate 50 lines," right? Which I don't know if that really happens anymore. I'm so far removed.
Probably not. No, everybody already has.
Yeah, they have like a contact or
line.
something else, right, that does that. But I remember quite a few times someone comes saying, "Oh yeah, I want to activate 50 lines." So what I want to do is activate 5 to 10 of them now. We'll do a little test run for 2 weeks, whatever, and I'll come back and do the rest. And you make sure, like, here's my card. You call me, even if I don't work that day. Like, I will be in that day. Like, you wanted that sale, like 100%. And then the type of like spiffs the company was giving, everything else to add like internet at the time, because this is when data still wasn't big, right? Like, I remember it was. Now I'm dating myself. It was a big deal, like when I would take a picture with my phone. It was like a Nokia phone at the time, and then it would send out like MMS, right? And then like you see the little paperclip move, and it took like 2 minutes to send a picture, and it was like a VGA, right? So it was super slow, but at the same time, I know it's not Verizon. Verizon.
It was grainy.
It was a good, lucrative time, to say the least. I had so much fun working in those stores. And then we had like a place called Barnacles behind it. So literally on our lunch breaks, we would go there, and it's like myself, Matilde, forget some of the other people's name, Cassandra. And I mean, we would go, I know it sounds just really messed up, but we'd go there and yeah, we definitely get a bit sauced up and come back to work. And
hey, I understand. We had an on the border right next door to, the place I worked. Back in the day. So we'd go over there and have a couple margaritas on lunch and come back over. Yeah. So, hey, it helps you get through the day.
Oh yeah. And look, I was excited to come back. And then, you know what? Send me an evil customer, right? Like, send me that troll, because I was in such a good mood. You weren't going to bring me down from it. Now, mind you, I wasn't like, I'm like an angry drinker or something like that. So that could probably end up sideways. But to me, otherwise, it's quite comical, right? You had to make sure to keep your poker face on. And then just tell them that you're drinking, or not drinking, whatever. You're chewing gum that's pina colada flavor, of course. Oh, what's this? Oh, yeah, pina colada gum. Would you like some? Please say no, because it really doesn't exist, but I'll tell you otherwise. Don't take me up on this offer. I'm just doing it out of a nicety.
Oh man. Well, Chris, do you have any other final questions before we wrap up?
I do not.
I've actually gone quite a bit longer than I imagined we would.
We have, and I want to thank you guys for having me on today, and Terrance for being here and sharing so much of his life with us. So thank you, Terrance.
Yeah, yes, it is a pleasure. It's a nice surprise to see you both here, Brian. Like, clearly, I expected you, Chris.
Yeah, that's true.
I wondered, but I wasn't 100% positive. And now, of course, it's to your face. Always a good thing, Chris.
Just a wonderful surprise, Terrance, wherever I go.
We'll definitely get this audio situation figured out one of these days. Maybe next time we'll use Discord or something. I thought Google Meet, the audio would be a little better. It's okay. It's not bad. I think it's close to Skype, but I don't know.
Yeah, Skype's always been king in that department.
Yeah, Skype usually is king in that department. For sure.
You know how it is.
Discord is pretty good too for straight audio. So I don't know. I'll have to work that out. So hopefully, nobody minds there. Well, actually, I do have one more question for you quickly.
There we go.
Before we wrap it up, you never really you mentioned that there was a person named Jonathan, but you didn't really go into who that person was. Oh, so Jonathan, I'm actually still in touch with him, ironically. Like he lives in New York actually, and I was checking up on him like, yo, you good? Right? Like, are you good right now? Are you cool? And so thankfully he's doing very well. So like Jonathan, he like a similar job. So is myself. So if you can imagine, there's myself, Scooter, Jonathan. That was pretty much it until we got this new dude, Ray, a little bit later on. But I wasn't there much longer after he came through, as my contract was expiring, and I found something new that I was going to do anyway. And so with that, yeah, he was another couple cubicles down. And the thing is, we didn't really move very much in our department other than breaks, because you did not want to get involved in the corporate politics, right? I don't care what anybody says. You can pretend all day that we're tough to work with. No. When you have like an organization that has like a lot of like type A
female leaderships that's in there, do not step on any of those eggshells. Like, just don't do it. And every now and then they would come to my desk and like, oh, did you hear, so and so presented this. Like, did you get this information? Did you hear about that? I'm like, if I say no, does it throw them under the bus? And they come back, and if I say yes, and they ask me about more of it, and I don't have an appropriate answer, like I'm always second guessing when something came by my way. And then I know I shared a little bit on the story there, but like we had a couple of us would have like little snacks that you would just place on your desk, right? Because again, it's a cubicle. You put your lunch up. You may bring some snacks to have in your drawer. Everything else. And TT, she would literally, eye contact, come by, hey Ryan, how's everything going? Hey Chris, everything going well? Yeah. Okay, well, hey, hold on, if you don't mind, let me just reach here in that drawer. Oh, you have the Reese's today, whatever, and just literally grab handfuls and walk away. And do you think I'm gonna challenge her and say anything? Absolutely not. I just wanted to be on her good side and leave. Politics that way, and Jonathan he was smart. He had no part of it. He kind of to himself. He's doing well for himself these days. That's for sure.
Well, I typically, my answer is, always, I don't care enough to know about it. I just zero in on my job. I don't care what anybody else is doing. Don't want any part of it.
Some of them had some really interesting hobbies, everything else. Like Doretha, she was interested. She would always go to the skating on the weekends, right? Even though she's older than all of us, right? Me, I'm gonna say all, it's not Phyllis, but at the time she's in her 40s and we're in our early 20s, and so hear her saying that she likes to go to the skating rink and clubbing and whatnot. You're like, you like to go to? Did you say clubbing, skating? Who does this? I know she was very unique in that particular aspect. So there were some interesting people there. I wish I was still in touch with today, but unfortunately I'm not. I never could bond with them because I just didn't get caught up in it. There's just too much. Scooter seemed to know all the gossip and all the pitfalls, but he was smarter than I was at the time. He has very, very sly way of hey TT, what's going on? Did you hear about so all the information? They go back to the girl. Yeah, I heard this is what I heard. What'd you hear? Right? You construct and have everything together. So he was well and just well integrated into the whole thing. I don't know how he did it. Maybe there's some advice I can get to him from even for today's lifestyle, right? Still politics at work still plays out, and I can't say I'm necessarily the best at it because either I just don't want to deal with it, or if I feel some type of way, right, it's very hard for me to fake it. I'm just not very good at it. That's it. I'm just not good at it.
I'm right there with you. I can't fake any emotion. You guys have seen me try to act before. What was I called, Chris? I think it was Bueller.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty certain that was it.
Yeah, that got me straight to the heart. I was like, oh.
How dare you call me Ben Stein?
It's not for all of us. It's exactly. I guess my facial responses in your acting will never look as good as Chris's beard over there. So that was. I know nobody can see it right now, since this is likely going to be
not
audio.
Today. There's dirt in it still right now. So.
Look, I'm trying.
Hey, it still looks good. I shaved mine off. In comparison to Chris, I just had to shave mine off. So,
well, good for that. You can,
guys,
I can pull off the goatee. That's about it.
You guys realize I only have this to hide my double chin, right? That's the only reason anybody really grows a beard is to hide a double chin. I'm don't want to see all of this under here, so we'll just grow this well beyond where it's at.
Hey, but if you ever need to cosplay as Leonidas, there you go, man.
I gotta get buffed for that one, bro.
And look, I'm going to drop one more F.
Middle-aged Leonidas, maybe.
I'm dropping one more F-bomb on your podcast. Fuck those 5-year memories, 10-year memory thing, right? I love seeing those things. Sometimes, how that was so nice. This one I met my wife. This one. Wait a minute. Oh, that was a picture when I was fit. That was a picture when I wasn't shit. Victoria called it out a couple times. She's like, "Did you see these? I just got these reminders from Time Hop and Facebook today." And it's nice to reminisce on it, but at the same time, you're you asshole. How dare you remind me that I've let myself go? That's what I see when I see that image. I'm like, Terrance, you've gotten sloppy. You've gone full dad bod.
Terrance, whenever I look at myself, I have pretty much been the same most of my life. So I just look at it now and I'm like, I look more silver fox-ish and I'm just getting more handsome as I get older. So I'm like, oh God. I actually saw a picture of myself and I asked my wife, I'm like, why did you marry me? And she's like, I was investing in my future.
Well, there it is, right?
That's a good answer.
Oh, beauty.
Yeah, I'm in Terrance's boat there. So I used to be, muscular and tan.
One time we saw a photo of you.
Yeah.
You got some good stories. Speaking of interesting stories, Ryan. But yeah, no, I mean, look, Ryan, you did have it together, my friend. Absolutely.
I did. Now I look like the person that ate that person.
Unfortunately, it's more than a sit up away, y'all. And this quarantine has not helped me. Like, I have literally gone ham on every damn thing about. Like, I refuse to buy any more sugared treats or goods at the grocery store because I can't help myself. I literally will sit there on the weekend and I'll bust out the Switch or whatever, playing with the kids, and before you know it, there's half a cake left, and then there's no longer any cake left. There's just crumbs, and my wife comes downstairs. I was looking to eat it. Where did it go? And I'm like, I guess I ate it. What do you mean you guess you ate it? I just nibbled over time and it was gone. It's like money, right? Like if someone gave you $100 and it's like, where'd you spend it on? Where'd you blow it? It's like, I don't know. I guess it just quickly, but yet slowly happened. You don't know how to explain it. It's like a time warp was involved. That's me.
I've been wrapping everything in bacon. Chris has seen the pictures. Wrapping it in bacon and cheese and throwing it on the grill. But all right, well, I guess we'll end it there because we're close to an hour. We'll be less than an hour with editing, but we're close to there. So, well, Terrance, it was nice to have you on. It was nice to have you on, Chris. It was definitely an interesting story, especially with the impersonation you did. I thought that was really good. And like I said, brought up some PTSD from family members, but we'll have to do this again next time. I don't know what story we're going to do next time. Maybe we'll get one from Chris. So Chris, I'm sure you got some good ones.
Quite a few, yeah.
There we go.
All right, so
small rotation for a minute. And by the way, just a quick little, Scooter said he would have a few with that same company. He can provide a few things on that would be interesting. So different take, but not on the same exact ones, but he's got a few, and he's a bit of a storyteller, so it'd be interesting.
Hey, I welcome anyone that's got a good story.
There it is. All right, gentlemen, well, it's been a pleasure.
It's been fun.
Pleasure's all
see you guys on the next one.
Take it easy.
What'd you say, Chris?
I said pleasure's all on this side of the table. Take it easy, guys.
All right, see you on the next one.